Leicester have had a pretty clunky season this year, which a lot will say was always going to happen when you lose your entire coaching setup and have a bunch of departures during the summer. But it's their inconsistency of form and pretty dire rugby, which has perhaps done them a disservice on the pitch for how capable this side really is. It's not like they are miles away from the leading pack, as they are sat on 8 wins, which just a week ago was level with 7 other sides, but they have majorly struggled to pick up bonus points this season. Points difference, and they've never really felt like one of those true title challengers or top four players. The form table puts them in a slightly better spot, having picked up 19 points in their last 6 games, which would actually put them in fourth place. But it's their form at home which is really worrying. Leicester ranks seventh, only ahead of Bristol, Gloucester, and Newcastle for home victories in their last 6 home games, which is highly unlike the cauldron at Welford Road that we all know. It's the manner of defeats to the likes of Gloucester which have me really worried, struggling to put away a side that they have had the ascendancy on for a huge portion of that second half, only to blow it with a lack of focus. They are saved, however, by how strong they've been on the road, in which they've picked up 17 points in their last 6 away games, which is only second to Northampton Saints. Home advantage has arguably never been more important or as prevalent as it has this season, so any side that can disrupt and get a handful of wins away from home will always be in contention. So why are Leicester struggling to pick up victories, and why can't they use that away form to build up a real impression on the league? Well, the first major problem is scoring points. They are miles off of league leaders Saracens for points scored this season, and sit around 6th in the league, a full 120 points away from that top spot, and below sides such as Exeter and Bristol. They sit in 8th for tries scored with just 43, 13 tries off of the top four, and again 21 tries away from leaders Saracens. That alone constitutes a loss of 5 bonus points, which as a currency has never been such a deciding factor as it has been so far this season. They don't have a single try scorer in the top 6 of the league, which is fine if you're Bristol and your running threats are coming from everywhere, but for Leicester, who are heavily weighted on a traditional game plan, they just need some more cutting edge urgently. And it's that cutting edge which is really important here, as you think of Leicester as a side that can make hard yards, are direct, and have big ball carriers that are getting them over the gain line. But that tagline isn't actually backed up by their statistics. They are sat on 4,292 metres gained this season. That's lower than the likes of Sale and Gloucester, and only Newcastle sit below them. In comparison, they are 2,000 metres off of the likes of Bristol Bears, which for those quick math types is another 20 lengths to the pitch in pure running metres. If you then dissect metres per carry, it becomes exceptionally worrying, as Leicester are the second worst side for successful carries in the league, sitting at 2.8 metres made per carry. For context, Newcastle Falcons are the only side worse, with 2.61 metres made per carry. If it sounds painful for Leicester fans that I keep comparing their stats to Newcastle, well, there is a really good reason for that. Newcastle have made more clean breaks than Leicester this season, have conceded less turnovers in attack, and have passed the ball around the same amount of times, within a bracket of 20 passes. What I'm trying to say is Leicester's attack is about on par with the worst attacking side in the league. It's gotten so bad that they make a clean break once every 25 carries, which is absolutely atrocious. They actually only make 4 clean breaks per game, and I've written some of these analysis videos talking about sides who need to improve their attack who are sat on double that figure. I only dread to think where this side would be without the likes of Solomone Kata this season, who statistically is a real anomaly to this side. And I do think pressure needs to be put on that rotation of the back three, which is Ollie Hassel-Collins, Stewart, Shilcock, who's been used a lot at fullback this season, Bassett and Brown, especially after their record defeat to Northampton this weekend. I think when you look at a stat like that, you can understand further why Borthwick has looked to experiment with England and has increasingly rotated away from the likes of Stewart and Ollie Hassel-Collins. Although indomitable in the sky, Stewart in particular is sat on his worst points tally in the full Tigers season since 2020, scoring 3 tries so far this competition when he scored 8 during their league-winning season. So we know attack is a difficult area for Leicester. So how about we look at some positives, starting with defence? And although it won't feel like it for fans after that recent drubbing, Leicester's defence is actually okay. They put up the 3rd most tackles in the league, above Saracens and Harlequins with 1,971, and their tackle success rate is around 87%, or around the 3rd best in the league. My typical whipping stick is how that compares to Harlequins' centres, and yes, the entire Leicester side has only dropped about 30 tackles less than Harlequins' centres alone. which is always going to be a statistic that boggles my mind. They haven't won as many turnovers as they would have liked, but it's not necessarily a worry either, as they sit around middle of the pack with 96 so far this season, which if they were sat on top of the table wouldn't be an issue. But for a side that really leads in defensive actions, I think you'd like this side to be closer to 105 by this time in the competition. Their set piece, on the other hand, which is what you traditionally link with the best Tigers sides of old, is really firing though, with an 89% success rate at the line-out and a 91% success rate at the scrum. Chesham, Cole, Martin, Montoya are also incredibly important components as to why this side really leads the way in this area, with only Harlequins really having a better scrum in the league. The issue has been weaponising it and turning it into points, but I think the underlying numbers are there to say that they've just had a bit of bad luck and that this hasn't converted more fruitfully so far. Leicester kick more than most sides in the league as well, with nearly 500 kicks from hand already this season. They've made 14,708 metres this season from kicks alone, which leads the league above even Saracens. So I actually think Leicester don't have an issue finding territory, but with a great line out and a pressure-led scrum, you'd be scratching your head as to why this doesn't convert to more. Despite wellness and injury issues, Pollard is still in the top 5 for points scored so far this season, so they've had no real issues taking three-pointers when they're on offer, sitting at a 77% kick success rate, which is actually one of the highest in the league. And yes, I know if that stat doesn't sound very high, you'd be absolutely right, as it's been far from a vintage season off of the boot for most sides this season, as the league average is 70%, with the likes of Ford and Farrell actually coming below 70%. Literally up until this weekend's game, Leicester's discipline had also been great, not conceding any red cards and only 6 yellows. However, Kata has well and truly blown that statistic for that big hit against Northampton. They concede around 9 penalties per game, which is actually totally fine. And for a side that is stigmatised by a lot of hot heads and nasty players, they are actually one of the more ref-friendly teams in the league. So what does this all boil down to? Well, I think realistically that Leicester will finish the season in 6th, as their run-in is a little bit more favourable with Bristol, Exeter and Sale to come, but I don't think they'll pick up more than 8 points from those games. I think they have all the fundamentals of a side that can really build. They have a good set piece, decent discipline, a good kicking game and a lot of experience in the squad, but they absolutely need to get this attack right, as when Visa goes at the end of this season, your metres per carry will only diminish further, and the running threats become even more predictable. The Premiership is in a real golden age of attacking quality and shapes, and I think the few percentiles Leicester are off in those games negate the qualities that they have in defence and the set piece. Simply, they need to score more tries. When bonus points are the difference between a title challenge and dropping into the bottom 3 in the league, you can't just grind out games anymore and hope for that to be enough when most sides are picking up 2 losing bonus points every other game. They do also need to sort out that home form, as Welford Road has become the cornerstone of every single successful campaign they've had in the league, and I think that will only come from geeing up their fan base with some running rugby. I do hope that this will be a temporary problem though, as they will be picking up Isaiah Parisi at the end of the season from Waratahs, who's a really exciting attacking threat, even though that might be to the detriment of somebody like a Dan Kelly. And we also have Guy Porter and Phil Fokanasiga who will be leaving at the end of the season, so maybe that balances out. But realistically, I think Leicester really have to go hard to try and find a really exciting attacking winger, somebody that really creates. And to be honest, if I were them, I'd be looking at putting a big contract down for somebody like Adam Radwan to really inject some pace into this backline. However, I will leave it there though, because if I'm going to start getting into signings and fantasy rugby, then I'll create a fixing your club video. So if you do like this video and you want to see what that looks like, then tell me in the comment section down below if you'd like to see a full fixing your club video about Leicester Tigers. If you're watching this on YouTube, please leave a like, please subscribe for more. It's been really exciting to see this channel blow up most recently, and thanks for all the love on the Premiership tier list, which came out over the weekend. And if you're watching this on TikTok, please like and follow for more rugby content.